Chris Bongie's Islands and Exiles significantly reshapes the landscape of Caribbean literary and cultural studies, warranting sustained and focused attention. Much like Michael Dash's influential work The Other America, Caribbean Literature in a New World Context, Bongie's book transcends the confines of a national language literary framework, such as Francophone Caribbean literature, to approach its subject matter from a regional and multilingual perspective. Although a majority of the texts discussed are in French, the book's scope extends beyond linguistic boundaries. Labeling Bongie's work as merely a regional study fails to capture the essence of the project. This categorization overlooks the fact that the core chapters of Islands and Exiles are flanked by analyses of novels by the South African J.M. Coetzee, Foe, and the New Zealander Kiri Holm, The Bone People. Bongie's primary focus lies not in delineating cultural connections between Caribbean islands, but rather in probing the profound questions of identity that the figure of the island has historically raised and continues to do so. In this sense, the title of the book might be somewhat misleading. Islands and Exiles is less about the displaced individuals and more about the islands themselves, their symbolic isolation from continents, and the discourses of global modernity. With their hegemonic ambitions, Bongie does not interpret the division between islands and continents, terms used metaphorically in his text, as a manifestation of insular resistance to continental discourses. In addition to Caribbean locales, Bongie applies his incisive critical thinking to representations of the Haitian Revolution in William Faulkner's Absalom, and Victor Hugo's Bug Jargel, the incipient hybridity in Bernardin de Saint-Pierre's Paul et Virginie, and the contemporary volcanic narratives of Daniel Maximin. One of the most compelling chapters draws a convincing parallel between the mid-19th century struggle for Caribbean identity, involving Martinican Creole Cyril Charles Auguste Bisset and white abolitionist Victor Schulcher, and the recent dispute between Annie Lebrun and Martinican writers Raphael Confiant and Patrick Chamisso over the legacy of Aimé Césaire. At the heart of both debates lies the relative influence of the islander versus the colonizer or former colonizer in shaping insular identity. Bongie posits that the resolution to these complex identity disputes lies in the in-between. It is perhaps time to claim the interregnum as our home, rather than only as a place of exile, and to begin to learn how to live with a condition that we cannot cure. 347. If there is a blind spot in Bongie's otherwise masterful text, it lies in the otherwise brilliant chapter on Edouard Glissant. Focusing on Glissant's most recent works, Bongie identifies Glissant as one of the most compelling thinkers on the post-colonial condition, a term coined by Bongie to highlight the epistemic complicity between the colonial and the post-colonial. In these works, Glissant shifts his critical focus from the specifically Martinican and broader insular context to advocate for the global process of creolization. For Glissant, non-hierarchical cultural contact relation will eventually lead to a situation where all identities become so plural as to dissolve. However, as Celia Britton notes, Glissant writes as if these values of relation, chaos, and diversity have already triumphed, when in reality, they have not yet fully manifested in his own homeland of Martinique. Throughout Islands and Exiles, Bongie emphasizes the need to balance calls for hybridization in contemporary post-colonial theory with the recognition of a provisionally established Caribbean or insular identity. Despite his emphasis on epistemic complicity, Bongie may be too quick to embrace Glissant's recent utopian declarations regarding global creolization, which, as of yet, have not fully materialized even on Martinique itself.